Welcome to another edition of Mailbag. Remember, these are questions and comments that you guys leave on the channel that I think are worthy of further exploration. And again, like I've done with many of the other mailbags recently, I'm recording a block header for the multiple items that are going to appear in this particular mailbag session. But before we get going, we must observe normal parish notices. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not hit the subscribe icon? If you want to be notified when videos like this, the rant, or specifically about pieces of equipment hit the channel, you need to click the bell icon as well. If you like the contents of the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the video, it really helps the channel. And if you feel so inclined, put comments down below. I read the lot. I have to release them from the quarantine area on the channel. And also sometimes I make videos about your comments and suggestions. So that's just the way it is. And finally, down here somewhere is the TMTG community address. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, which I feel is really a bargain, you can support the work the channel does in producing videos about equipment that musicians use. But now, back to this video. The next question comes from Jack Howe. And this was in response to how to connect the Roller ARIA instruments via USB to the MX-1, a video I did in August 2019. And Jack writes, "Can you help? I'm considering getting an MX-1 to go with my TR-8, but I have one question. Does the USB audio only send the master and not the assignable outputs? From the TR-8 to the MX-1, is it possible at the same time using the USB audio to send the analog audio from the assignable outputs to the analog audio inputs of the MX-1, e.g. bass drum assignable on output 1 into audio channel on the MX-1, snare on the assignable output 2 into audio channel on the MX-1, everything else through the USB to the USB channel on the MX-1? Thanks." And this... Initially you want to say yes, but I need to understand. I sort of went back and said I really need to understand the question. The TR-8 can transmit multiple audio channels via USB as well as the MIDI. Okay, and this is the scene. If you plug the unit directly into the computer, you will see X number of audio channels available to your DAW or your computer or whatever it happens to be. However, when you attach the TR-8 to the MX-1, the volume fader on the MX-1 will only deal with the master volume out of the TR-8, i.e. the left and right master outs. It won't deal with any of the individual outputs on the TR-8. So it's not possible to manage individual channels on the TR-8 through the MX-1. You have to use the faders on the TR-8 effectively to manage the channels as a submixer. Now, if you go into what you're asking for in terms of can you put it to an assignable out that then doesn't go to the master audio out. Now, I have to be honest and say I haven't tried this scenario, but I did look at a circuit diagram, and from what I can see, even if you route the audio from the master to an assignable out, it will still come through the master left and right on the USB feed, because it assumes with USB that the individual channels will be broken up by the device receiving the USB audio. I hope that makes sense. So yes, you could actually take the bass drum in from assignable out 1 into an audio in on the MX-1 and pump the volume up. That you can do. Whether there's any delay involved in doing that, I don't know, because I've never done it. But from the way the unit is put together, or the two units interact with each other, the master mix that comes off the fader that you fade up and down on the MX-1 will be everything. That's how I understand this works. What I am having a bit of a memory block with, and I haven't got the units here unfortunately, so I can't really go back and tell, is whether you get all the channels displayed to the computer. Now I seem to think you do, but I am actually writing this from memory rather than actually having the thing sitting in front of me. The only drum machine I've got here at the moment is the Behringer RD8, because that's the one I seem to be using at the moment. So the other drum machines, unfortunately, at the moment are in storage. Next one comes from Sean Curran. In response to I put it all up for sale rant I did in February 2021. Now this was about the announcement that Tom Hulkenberg made late last year, where he effectively said he was putting everything he owned up for sale. And Sean writes, great video, John. I can attest to Tom's plight in a miniature scale. What sample should I use? Should I use my TR-8, my 808, my Rompler sample, the analog drum machine, or one of the 1,000 kick samples loops? 4 hours of sound auditioning later, I forgot why I needed the kick in the first place. To solve this, I always do two things. One, projects are just as much of a challenge of using the right piece of kit for the beat. So today's will be a Tempest and a Kawai XD5. Go. The second thing I do is always record MIDI and audio. That way, if I feel that the sound is not doing justice to the piece I'm working on, then I can substitute it in later with a sneaky bass from a VST or a drum machine as need be. And I have to be honest and say, I've got to agree with Sean, too much choice can create creative paralysis. But I think he's understanding what each piece of equipment does for you. I think that's probably one of the keys to this. And a lot of people don't really understand that. They have lots of equipment but don't actually understand what each piece is doing for you. But I'd pick on the point that you made about the door. It's best practice. I do exactly the same. I always record MIDI and audio. And that way I can do exactly what you just suggested. If I don't like it, I can always swap in for a different sound at a later date. And also you're assuming that you're not using the light version of a door. A lot of people do use light versions of doors. And the problem with the light version is that you tend to run out of tracks. They only give you so many MIDI tracks and so many audio tracks. So doubling up sort of starts to double your tracks, your precious tracks up very quickly. So, you know, cheap as processor and disk space is, using a live version will actually use things up very quickly, I have to be honest. Anyway, good comment, and yeah, best practice, record MIDI and audio all the time.